Okay, I'm going to expose the truth about starting an Airbnb in 2022. Now, we have a whole list of things, but let me tell you why I know about this, because I have started multiple Airbnbs every year since I bought my first one back in 2017, and honestly, sometimes this shit sucks. So I'm just going to throw that out there. All the parts I hate about it, we're going to expose the truth of the whole thing, and all the parts I love. But this is 2022 specific because there is definitely things that has happened in the industry and in the whole Airbnb ecosystem that wasn't around a couple years ago that you need to be on the lookout for and you need to be kind of concerned about. Not necessarily bad concern, you just need to know about so you can know how to optimize, work around, prevent, or sidestep some of that nonsense. The dildo story. So a dildo story happened last night, and this gets into a broader principle, but let me just set the scene. I'm sitting there eating, flirting with people on my phone on Tinder, and I get a message from the guest, or a guest that was checking in. And the guest says, "Hi, cute place. We have some concerns. We saw a bug on the floor, and there's a 3-inch dildo right here by the chair." Couple things about that, of course, is it's South Carolina where one of the Airbnbs are, and it's just there's literally just palmetto bugs that just live there. There's nothing you can do about them. It's not an extermination thing. Number one. Number two, cleaners. So the cleaners had, I guess, overstepped or didn't even notice a dildo that was on the floor. Now, you think, oh, this stuff could never happen to me, but this brings us to the first point about exposing the truth about Airbnb. Cleaners are a constant job. Now, whether you clean yourself or you have a company, there's some pluses and minuses in that, but if you clean yourself, you could be making $2,000 extra dollars maybe sometimes. I know my cleaning fees on just one of my Airbnbs last month was $3,078. So that could be in your pocket, which is an extra income. I mean, that's great income. If you times that by 12, that's a significant amount. So you can clean it yourself, which is going to take a lot of time and effort, but it might be worth it if that is a good time value to you. If not, you would have to hire a cleaner. And with that, I don't think a lot of people realize that you would have to become a manager and you have to become kind of a boss. So this is not necessarily a passive income thing. I think this is more considered a wonderful side hustle because the customers and the sales you don't have to worry about. Airbnb does the sales, Airbnb does the customers. So it takes one of the main things that is hard in business and eliminates it, which is finding the customers. So it does give you the customers, but you have to still be a business owner. So I would look at this as being a business owner and just know that you are going to have to be a boss. You're going to have to be a manager. You're going to have to be an entrepreneur in this field. It's not necessarily a passive income, just kind of mailbox money like some things. Unless you have a manager, and then that gets into a whole thing. But then you still have to manage them too. So just set the expectation with yourself that you will be managing. And so the cleaners are someone that you have to look at all the time. So a pro tip on that is to get pictures or inspect and have a checklist. Now, we get pictures. Every time they clean, my property manager gets pictures from the unit. And in this particular case, I guess the dildo was out of frame or something like that, and no one saw it. And also 3 inches, doesn't seem like nearly enough. That's neither here nor there. Okay, so we get pictures after everything's clean, done. It would be great if you could inspect too. So even if you didn't clean it yourself, if you could go and inspect or have someone go and inspect. I know a lot of companies will go and just hire someone for like $50 to go and check the turnovers. You'll give them a checklist and they'll just, look at the checklist, or they're corrected cleaners or whatever. That's actually one of my jobs I had back in high school, or back in college actually. I was an inspector for a vacation property management company. So have a checklist too. So make a checklist for your cleaners and give it to them, and then have them submit it to you every time they finish cleaning. So they can just take a picture of their phone, or you can do it electronically, and they can do it electronically. It's excellent just to do it that way too. Okay, so major competition. Let me tell you another story and rules and regulations. So it is. There's major competition in the Airbnb space nowadays. In 2022, nothing but competition. Especially if you're in a hot market, a vacation market, a destination market. But even if you're in kind of a podunk market, there's still a lot of people that are trying to make money from this. So you have major competition. And you have rules and regulation because there's been so much more people coming onto the platform. Cities are cracking down, HOAs are cracking down, towns are cracking down, states are even cracking down. So when I bought mine, when I bought my first one back in like 2018, there was no Airbnb regulations where I lived. And then all of a sudden, about a year or two later, I get these mean mail pieces from the city threatening to sue me and bring me to court or whatever for $1,000 fine because I haven't applied for a rental license permit. And I called them and I was like, hey, when I bought this, there was no restrictions on it. That's why I bought it. And they're like, well, too bad. Town council met and they, made more rules. I'm like, wait a minute. I just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars specifically because I didn't have to register and I was operating legally, and now you just change the rules. And they're like, yes. And so too damn bad. So this is why a lot of people invest in markets that already have established Airbnb short-term rental rules on the books. So if you're thinking about going into a new market, check that, because there's a lot of markets that do have short-term history on the books with rules and regulations and laws, but there's a lot of them that are still deciding, that haven't figured it out yet. So that's one. Markets are hot, obviously, so you can go to your city and see the major competitors. Now, AirDNA is a good tool for that, or you can just Google, I think Airbnb Insights, and there's free tools that you can use, which I would just use the free tool. AirDNA, in my opinion, is not worth the $800 a year. It's like $60-$70 a month or whatever. My property manager made me get it, and I'm like, this is stupid, but whatever. We live and we learn. So Google your city and see who's really winning in the market, and then that'll tell you what's doing well, and it'll show you the opportunities, right? Maybe the main ones that are winning are like 3 2s, and maybe there's a whole market for 2 1s. Maybe condos are doing really well, and then maybe there'd be a good entry for a single family detached like you have or whatever. So just check your competition and see how you can differentiate yourself. Uniqueness wins a lot of the time on Airbnb. So if you can be unique, if you can be exciting, if you can have like a fun little pop of something or just something different, then try to do that and try to highlight your differences. So get professional photography with it, write a cool description from it or whatever. Some pro tip on here: when you're writing your description, you can send it to Fiverr to like a copywriter, and the copywriter can go and zhuzh it up, if you will. I mean, these listings are going to be seen by thousands and thousands of people. You should really spend some money to optimize the listing itself. Another pro tip in here is check your competitor reviews and see what can be improved upon. Some of the top people from your city or geography, wherever you are, might have thousands and thousands of reviews. So you could literally just go through every single one of them for the most part, read, research, see what's working, see what's not working, and see what opportunity you have to correct the gaps in the market. I love this tip. This is probably my favorite tip, because reviews will tell you, I mean, these are customers that are paying. So they're basically telling you how to take their money. They're like, hey, here's what I liked and didn't like about when the last time I gave someone money. So I could potentially give it to you. You just got to fix those things, which I think is just such an awesome thing to have. I mean, it's literally like just such a cheat code. It's amazing if you just read them. Number 3, and this is definitely the truth about starting an Airbnb in 2022, is it is a time commitment. There was a guest that checked in. This happens all the time. Literally, it's not just a couple days. It happens all the time. A guest that checked in, because these are all automatic instructions send, and sometimes people tell us they're going to be late, but sometimes people don't tell us they're going to be late, and sometimes they don't even know they're going to be late. So they checked in at 2 a.m. and they couldn't figure out how to use the lockbox at 2 a.m. So what do? They called us 6 times. 6 times. Me, my manager, until one of us woke up and guided them through how to open the lockbox. Spoiler alert, it was just a lockbox. Very easy. But they couldn't figure out how to do it. So your time commitment here is absorbent. And I feel like people don't really realize that. Even if you have a property manager, your time commitment is still going to be very, very significant. And this kind of leads me to the investment principle, investment theory here, as if you're going to do one of these, you might as well do 10. You might as well do 20. You might as well do 100. Because there's so much time commitment from that 0 to 1 that once you have these systems in place and once you build out these systems and once you bite off that, it's pretty easy to plug in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, there will be a scale of diminishing returns where maybe 10 puts you into a whole new category and having to scale up again. But do you see what I mean there? Like, there is that tipping point where if you have 1, might as well have like 5. Maybe if you have 10, like maybe if you get to 10 and then from that 10 to 12 it's difficult and you have to build out more systems, and then maybe from there the magic number is 12 to 100. But there's a point where you can just add in more and more and kind of plug and play. So that's what I do kind of like and dislike about it. The return on investment on one is a lot time commitment wise, but you can scale up and still do 10 or whatever. The fourth thing, and this is like the big reveal, is that Airbnb just doesn't care. Airbnb, the corporation might care, the leadership team might care, but they have most of their call centers offshore in the Philippines or something like that. And not to say those employees don't care, but they cannot do anything. They are not approved. The higher ups don't approve them to do anything. Basically, they're just, in my opinion, a huge waste of time, and they have no ability to correct anything, and they don't really have any kind of ownership in the company, so they don't really care. I've had ones where I've asked them their name, I've asked them their employee number, and they just say no. They're not going to give it to me. Like, you're not going to give me your name? They're like, no, against policy. Like, you're not going to give me your employee number? They're like, nope. Meanwhile, they're dealing with like thousands and thousands of dollars that we have between us, and I can't even get like a manager on the phone. You can never get a manager on the phone, by the way. It's impossible to talk to someone that makes decisions for sure. And then they always side with guests. And my property manager just had an issue with that. And she's like, yeah, no, I know guests are important. She's like, but also, if you don't have any hosts, then you're not going to have a website either. And we had a guest that was that blew a fuse by shoving and plugging in a illegal heater that they brought with them, which is very dangerous. And so they overloaded the circuit, blew a fuse, and then they said they were without power. They said the whole unit was without power, which is not true because it's just a fuse. And so they're like, we need an electrician ASAP. So we sent an electrician for $300 ASAP, called 6 of them to get one out there because it was a holiday weekend. And about 10 minutes before they got there, the guest calls and said, oh, it's just a breaker, we got it figured out. But we didn't see that because it was 10 minutes. So what happens, the electrician gets there, and then they charge us $300, but it's already fixed. And then we say, hey guest, we're gonna have to charge you for this. And they said, no, it's not, because this was something that was faulty in the electricity of the house or whatever. And so then we had to get it to Airbnb to moderate it and stuff like that. And they didn't want to reimburse us the $300, and the guest didn't want to pay it. So we had quite the issue, and we were finally able to scale up and scale up and scale up with someone at the company to finally get someone to do it. But it was a rarity. That was a really, really rare option of having that happen. So that's the kind of truth about Airbnbs. I have how to start an Airbnb, another video about all the things you need to know for starting an Airbnb, so go check that out over there. My property manager and I both are available for any questions that you have, so go ahead and email me, swclarkes@gmail.com, or Steven_STEVEN_CLARKE. On the Instagrams, you can go reach me over there. And my property manager does property management for 20%. So if you need a property manager, I would definitely contact her. She is a beast with all this stuff. Fantastic, the best one I've ever seen, and I've had multiple ones. So she's amazing. And then also she can do like a listing preview for you. I think it's like $250 to $500, and it just sets up each listing for you. It gets the copywriting done, it gets the listing done, it gets all the it optimizes it for the best SEO and for the best practices. So that's an option there too. You can do this all yourself, but if you're going to be, if if Airbnb already takes care of like all the sales and all the customers, all you have to do is put the website up or put the listing up, and you might as well spend some money to make it perfect, or as perfect as possible, because they're going to be sending people and traffic to you day one. If you have some spelling mistakes, or if you just even fail to mention something that's like a best practice that we have found, you can be missing out on hundreds of dollars, and that's not cool, because it's going to sink your SEO ranking, and it's going to not really show your place in the best light. So get a listing review, or at least ask someone else to do it, a friend, a buddy that knows what they're talking about, or us. You can hit us up. And then also, if you need management, I would definitely talk to Erica, and just hit me up and I'll give you her information. So there's the truth about Airbnb, starting Airbnb in 2022. I have lots more of these videos coming. Real estate is definitely my passion. I fix and flip property, and then I keep some for Airbnb and for long-term rentals. So thanks for watching this channel. We love you over here. This is really very fun for me. So let me know your experience with Airbnb, and let me know what you're wanting to do with Airbnb, and if you have any, or if you're going to start something.